We have a full meeting, so I'm going to start it right away at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock right now. I'm going to call the meeting to order, just giving passing the meter the heads up. If you want to post the agenda, I welcome everybody to this February meeting. And again, if you have the agenda in front of you, you know it's going to be full. So welcome. Meeting started at 7 p.m. Moving on, item 1.2, roll call to Councilmember Santangelo.
All right, good evening all. Roll call, Victoria Knapp.
I saw her here. She's here
I'm
somewhere.
here, present.
Okay, gotcha. Amy Lyford,
Here.
Billy Malone,
Present.
Nick Arnzen. You said he's running a little late.
Oh, yeah, I see him here. He's here now. Okay.
Oh, excellent. Okay, great. Dorothy Wong,
Here.
Hannah Petrie,
Present.
Dr. Thomas. I see you there. Chris O'Malley,
Here.
Veronica Jones,
Here.
Daryl Aranda.
Hello.
Greetings. Nick, oh, that's me. I'm here. Alan Peck. You there, Alan?
He's muted. Alan, you're muted.
Good evening. There you go. Gotcha. Reginald Wilkins,
Howdy.
Doug Cauliflower,
Here.
Sylvia Vega,
Present.
and Diane Markison.
Here.
Okay. All present and accounted for.
Okay, good. Thank you. Moving on, item 1.3 to approve today's agenda for January the 19th. Councilmember Jones.
I move that we approve the agenda with the correction of the date from January 19th, 2021 to February 16th, 2021.
That's also true of item 2.3.1, the date change there as well.
Exactly. 2 dates.
Second.
Two locations. That's a second from Councilmember Aranda.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? I see no abstentions, so moved. Unanimous. Okay, moving on. Item 2 to officers report. I'm going to start with my chairman's report. I'm going to make this very quick and brief. As you know, it's a full agenda. We got 3 action items in land use, 3 presentations. We've got a lot of public comments. I did ask Nick Santangelo, who is taking care of public comments, who received many today, to make sure that if you have an action item on a public comments, to get them to the right section, or Nick will read them as well as they pertain to their each individual section. Because we are running low on time, or it's such a packed agenda, we are going to time everything this evening. I did have an offer, I think, from Councilmember O'Malley to time. So if you are doing a presentation or you have a reports, we try to make sure that we keep with them in 5 minutes. This evening you will be timed, and as it comes to a close, Councilmember O'Malley will be reminding you that to wrap it up at the end of each time. And when it comes to the public comments, we will try to rush. We don't like to rush them, but we will try to make sure to get as many in as possible. So, okay, moving on. Item 2.2, the Vice Chair report. Councilmember Jones.
Good evening. The month of February is celebrated across the country as Black History Month. But as I always say, Black history is American history. Our contributions and lives as Black Americans are woven into the fabric of this country and this world. Maybe one day the full account of our true history will be written in history books and there won't be a need for a Black History Month. But until that day comes, we celebrate Black excellence now, this month, and as often as we can, because Black history needs to be told, learned, and taught. Today, I want to recognize and honor a pioneer, a woman and a member of our Altadena community who should be celebrated. She helped to break the glass ceiling in technology and communications. This person is here with us tonight. According to a statement from the Quality of Life Center, her professional talents have benefited all in the communication industry, where she was employed as an engineer for 46 years. In 1968, she was instrumental in the creation of what is now known as the 1-800 toll-free telephone system. Let's all celebrate and thank Dr. Sandra Thomas as our Black History pioneer tonight. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for paving the way for so many others and contributing to be a strong representation of Black excellence in our community.
Here,
Thank
here.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. I think we all second that, where Dr. Sandra Thomas isn't just a friend to us or and a role model, but she's a great example to our community. So I second everything Councilmember Jones just mentioned. So thank you all. And thank you, Dr. Sandra Thomas, who called me 5 minutes before the meeting. So I'm glad you made it in. Okay, moving on. Item 2.3. Recording Secretary, Councilmember Santangelo.
Okay, we're looking at the minutes, January 19 minutes to approve them. If there's any,
Motion to approve?
Second.
all right, Daryl and Veronica, correct? Okay.
Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So moved, unanimous.
Thank you.
And just for the record, Nick, if when I say unanimous, the chair doesn't actually vote unless it's a tiebreaker. So when you put it in the record, it's 15 yay votes, not 16, when I say unanimous.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. All right, item 2.4, Treasurer's Report, Councilmember Markuson.
Yes, we have $2,256.99 in our account. We did not write any checks this month, and that's my report.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Moving on, Corresponding Secretary, Councilmember Wong.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So I just want to update people today. We got a new announcement that with decreased case rates and safety guidelines in place, LA County is permitting TK6 schools to reopen. We're working to get more vaccines to ensure safety of staff and students, and entrust that parents, teachers, and school boards to make the best decision for students. So that was Supervisor Barger's post today. Keep your eyes on all of those changing. And then I received today, Elliot Gold of Acona, save the date, March 23rd. Group homes in Altadena will be one of our topics. The other topic will be trail access and crowding during COVID. And our third topic will be wildlife bears in Altadena. And that will be California Fish and Wildlife, their wildlife watch program, Keep Them Wild. And the other thing that I received was My Tribe Rise, Dina United, the Rodney King Foundation, in honor of Black History Month, will be hosting Walking for Peace, February 20th at 11 a.m. I believe they're meeting at, the event will be meeting, I'll be posting it on the website, that they were meeting in Fair Oaks. Sorry, I was just looking at a quick post. Otherwise, if anybody would like to share any of their upcoming events, let me know, dorothy.wong@altadenatowncouncil.org. Thank you.
I also just want to mention one thing that as of last month, we had a presentation from many in the community who wanted to address the issue of leaf blowers and other things within our community. And we were going to address that this evening. It is a full agenda. Councilmember Wong was going to propose a motion. whatever that was going to be worded. The thought was, and the people who did present were let known that because it's such a full agenda, it's going to be tabled till next month. So just keep an eye open for more information to come, and also do your homework and research where you can. All right, moving on. Item 3, public safety reports. Item 3.1, I did see Officer Cooper here somewhere.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know, first off, that our office is now open from.
Uh-oh.
It broke up there.
Yeah.
Oh,
And your
Sorry.
phone.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So our office is open from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday now for walk-ins. You no longer have to wait out front and call in. But we are still practicing social distancing, and you must have a face mask, and we're only letting so many into the lobby at a time. We are also back open doing car seat appointments on Wednesdays by appointment only. So if someone needs a car seat installed, they can call the office and make that appointment. As far as our county radar trailers go, I've been working with the county, and we've finally got the 2 county trailers plus our straight trailer. I've got all 3 of them working now. So in fact, today I deployed our newer trailer onto Altadena Drive at Harding. So you'll see it posted out there, and we're going to continue to move them around. Speed is continuing to be a little bit of an issue. So we are focusing on doing some enforcement in several areas of Altadena. So we're going to continue to do that and move those radar trailers around and try and educate people and see what we can do to get people to slow down. Other than that, let's see here. It looks like that's all I've got down as far as my notes for tonight. So unless anybody's got any questions for me.
any questions from the council? Councilmember Nat.
Very quick question. Who is the captain of our local CHP office these days?
It's going to be Captain Derek Moulton.
It is Captain Moulton. Okay, thank you.
It is. Yeah.
Any more questions from the council? Councilmember Wong.
Sorry, I'm sure you just didn't have time to document any collisions or any of that.
Yeah, I don't have the collision stats because the officer, unfortunately, that pulled him has been out of the office for the last couple of days. So I don't have those stats for tonight, but I'll pull them and I can email them to you so that you have them and you can update them on the website.
Excellent, thank you. No more questions? Thank you very much, Officer Cooper. We really appreciate you coming and enjoy your reports every month. We'll see you in March. And I'm going to move on to item 3.2, the Altadena Sheriff's Station with Captain Jacobs.
Hi, good evening, everybody, Town Council. Want to update you on a few crime stats and some of the events that have been going on. On January 26th, I met with community members, Dominic Corey from Senator Portantino's office, and Elliot Gold on an Acona meeting where we discussed current gang issues and how the community can help. And I thought that meeting went really well. If you want to view the meeting, it is definitely available on the Acona website. I also want to update on Loma Alta Park. The idea was it was a temporary shelter for people to come out of the inclement weather. And its original intention was for Altadena and surrounding some of the surrounding cities for people that are homeless or just need a place to get out of the weather. It turned out to be more of a listed temporary shelter in the county 211 system, which brought in a lot of people from outside the area, which is problematic in general. People don't know where they are. We stopped several people walking down Loma Alta, seriously lost, not knowing how to get to the shelter when they were trying to get there. But it's all been rectified, figured out. Hopefully we're off the county 211 system so that that won't happen, and we'll be able to keep it more localized in the event that something does open again. But as of February 4th, it is vacant. It was at Loma Alta Gymnasium. And we worked with LASA and Volunteers of America to get that closed down. And the Board of Supervisors office was very helpful in making sure it was a smooth transition. So if you see some folks that you're not familiar with in that area, they're probably from out of the area. So let us know if we can help and get them some future shelter for them. As far as crime goes, overall, Part 1 crime is down 20% as of the end of January. We did have one homicide, which was our deputy involved shooting on January 10th. That was at 2400 block of Lincoln. We had 3 strong arm robberies. One was at it was basically one of those offer up deals gone bad where 2 people met up. And I always say, please meet up in front of my station when you're gonna, especially if you're gonna have like a phone or something very an expensive item that you're going to exchange with somebody. Go someplace where it's well lit, or come out to a fire station or a police station or something to make that exchange. But it was basically that type of transaction where the victim's phone that he was selling was stolen from him, and the suspect fled, and he wasn't injured. There was another incident where on Lincoln and Figueroa, there was a female that was attacked at her bus bench. That she sits there at her bus bench, and I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. And her, so I guess, a credit card was taken from another homeless individual, and the suspect was arrested. So I do want to touch briefly. I know we're short on time, so I'll touch briefly on the increase in gang violence in the surrounding cities, Pasadena and Monrovia. This weekend was really something. There was 6 shootings in 3 days. And the last shooting was in Pasadena, where I'm sure you guys have read about the 10-year-old Hispanic boy that was shot 3 times with a high-powered rifle, which is unheard of. If you're going to do a drive-by, you just generally have a handgun. You don't have a rifle. He is going to make it. Last I heard, he was going to have possibly have his arm amputated at some point. But that's a tough kid right there. So that happened. And then there was a couple hit shootings in Monrovia, the county area, where Temple City had to cover that incident. So the gangs are heated up. The Crips and the Bloods are back at it due to the fact that this young kid that was shot was Hispanic. Of course, the Hispanic gangs are now ramping up some sort of retaliation. That's the rumor on the yard. So we're just telling everybody to be careful. But retaliation is all about, gangs are all about retaliation. So that's not going to change. But I like to keep you updated so that you're aware. We had just a couple catalytic converters still stolen. This time they were from a Honda CR-V and Honda Elements. Again, those vehicles are parked on the street. We have had about 6 this past week. So they're back out there doing the same thing with Priuses. And I just wanted to touch on the fact that I met with Pasadena PD, and we often talk about gang statistics and different crime statistics. And they did share with me that since January 1st, they've recovered 36 guns from vehicles and from people's waistbands. So, and they've had 6 shootings. 4 of them were hit shootings. So it's active. The gangs are active. We believe there's a bunch of youngsters trying to get jumped into the gangs. So just be careful. We're out there. We're patrolling the areas that we feel are going to be most impacted by some of the gang violence. And luckily so far it hasn't hit Altadena, but it only takes a minute to cross over Woodbury and come into our town. So that's all I've got to report tonight. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any
I've got-
questions, Council? Councilor Watson?
Jory, I just have a quick update that I can just confirm with Savannah that Loma Alta has been taken off of the 211 listing. She just checked it.
Yes, it has. I just double checked.
Good job, Savannah.
course.
Captain Jacobs, I actually have a question. what is the major source of income for gangs in the area? Are they basically just, is it drugs? Are they employed part-time? I have no sense of how these young men and women are making their living.
You know, a lot of it is some of the drugs are still playing into the factor, especially with the young kids. Methamphetamine has hit the gangs pretty hard. But we have a lot of old gangsters that live in our town and that really, they come from a different breed, and these young kids are not even listening to them. That's what I'm being told. And it's unfortunate because they're trying to make a trail for themselves and some new way of gang violence. But I don't know. I would say they're probably not working, but it's anyone's guess what they're doing right now. But a lot of the COVID has taken people, out and about, just causing problems.
Any more questions from the council? Councilmember Wong?
Hi, yes. So we did kind of talk a little bit about it. I just wanted to report back to maybe get a little more feedback here. So Loma Alta Drive, just across from the park, it was a few days ago, there was gunshots. And then I had learned from the residents, they contacted me, let me know that the homes were shot at and the cars were shot at in front of their homes. And one of the residents was 90 plus years old. And she's very concerned on what to do. She had recommended or asked what we can do about lighting in the park, if that's a situation, that's letting young people gather, and maybe something can happen that she had suggested, motion sensor lighting. So I don't know how we can look further into that at our parks. Because again, one of the new residents that moved in, they just had a baby, and their windows were shattered in their car. They're right across the street from the park, and we obviously have had an uptick in graffiti. So I feel like we need to do something in our census tract and across Altadena and Pasadena, but we definitely have residents that, feel very vulnerable right now.
And I understand. I wasn't going to address that one because it is a February stat, but I will, because it's dovetails right into all the gang violence that's happening around us. But yes, we're not immune from that. We have found a few incidents of gang graffiti, which have had some crossouts, which means they're antagonizing each other back and forth, both on Fair Oaks and at Loma Alta Park, and it was immediately cleaned up. We did have a shooting up there where fortunately nobody was hit. There was property damage to a couple vehicles, and it looks like there was a group of gang members on the top up by the gymnasium that were walking down the stairs, and another group was walking, obviously a different gang affiliate was walking up the driveway of the lower parking lot, and they got into a shootout. So it was like that angle of being on the stairs shooting down and being on the bottom shooting up. And there was 3 different types of calibers that we found after that was all said and done. So I don't know what that's all about. Nobody saw anything. There wasn't any cameras. I wish there was cameras in every park and every corner. We do need better lighting. We did reach out to Sam, and he was able to turn down some of the lighting. But I think the basketball courts, is where a lot of people gather, should go out by about 8 o'clock, not 10 o'clock, because that was about 9:45, a little bit late to be at the park, I think. But we can certainly work on that and try to control some of that lighting.
Right. So then when residents find graffiti, they should then contact graffiti. You can contact the county and get the graffiti removed quickly.
Yeah, but we want to see it. We want to see it first. We want to take reports on that so that we know we can. There's a lot to be said on different kinds of graffiti. So let us get out there and take a report, and then we'll contact the graffiti abatement teams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Savannah, I'm sorry, Savannah, is that something that your office can work with Dorothy on so that if there are things that have to happen with parks and lights and things like that, Captain Jacobs should be worried about people being shot. And maybe we can help her from another direction with the parks and the lights and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we can take it offline, but is that something that your office can help with?
Yeah, our office can look into it for you all.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Thomas, and then
I just wanted to say a couple of things. When Dorothy was speaking on the Peace Walk, it's going to leave from Metropolitan Baptist Church, I believe, Dorothy. So I just wanted to add that to her report. And then I was muted, but I did say thank you, Billy. Thank you to everybody. So now I thanked everyone, but I was on mute talking to you guys.
the biggest
so
thing
I
is
thank you.
Councilmember Jones.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move on that, I want to introduce Councilmember Knapp. While we're talking about this particular topic, only because she has some information about something that's happening. There's been many conversations around town, but this is just a latest one to add to the mix.
Just quickly, and I know the library will touch on this as well. As part of our ongoing efforts to provide education with regard to prevention and intervention surrounding gangs and the gang violence that is generally perpetrated as a result, we're holding a screening of the documentary that's called Pasadena Exploring Solutions for Gang Violence that was released, I believe, in 2018. Followed by a Q&A with filmmaker Stephen Sneed. That will take place through the library virtually this Sunday, the 21st at 1 p.m. If you look in the chat, if you have access to that, I put a place where you can register to get the link. Otherwise, the quick registration is tinyurl. Oh gosh, Nikki, you're gonna have to do it. I just forgot it. Anyways, it's in the chat and it's on the website too. On the Altadena Town Council website, it's also on the library's website, and it's in partnership with the supervisor's office, the library, the town council, the Rotary Club, and somebody I'm forgetting, MBVA, and the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you. Is there, before we move on, any more questions for the captain? Okay, thank you. Moving on. And thank you, Captain. We really appreciate you taking the time to join our meeting and for all the updates. Item 3.3, Altadena Fire. Maria Graykin, is she here? Yeah, I did see her here. She's on.
Yes, I am here. And Chief Mackey is also here. So if there's
okay,
any questions at the end, and I think Dorothy might have some questions, but he's here to help me answer some questions. For the month of January in Altadena, there were a total of 361 responses, 286 medical calls with 208 of those patients transported. We did have 6 fires, trash fire, a couple of vehicle fires, a cooking fire, actually 2 cooking fires. One was with no damages at all. The other one was an oven fire that the residents had put out, but it did cause about $1,000 worth of contents damage in their kitchen. And then the other fire was on Lawn Street on the 28th of January. It was accidental. It was confined to a detached garage. And according to the residents that were there, they had been using a butane torch in that garage a little bit earlier. So they think that there was just some excessive heat left from that butane torch in the detached garage. So it was confined to that. It was a total of about $60,000 worth of damage. There were 9 traffic collisions, including one with a person trapped and one versus pedestrian. And that is it, unless there's some questions.
Any questions from the council? Council member Wong?
Yeah, so thank you. I was just seeing, I think last month we were trying to see if we could get any information on the Cheney Trail fire.
Yeah, Chief Mackey, you want to jump in there?
Sure. Good evening, council, and thank you for your question, Dorothy. So I have been working with A&F, and the chief there recommended that he's going to look into the cause, but he did understand that there were fireworks being going off that night of that 1 acre fire. So right now it's I'm going to say fireworks until another cause is determined.
Any more questions from the council?
So
Okay.
just, sorry, quick question. So I'm sorry, the Forest Service then is still looking into it at this point, but you're thinking it's fireworks? Or that's just the listed cause right now? Or it's not listed, or it's still under investigation, right?
So yes, he mentioned to me that he thinks it was possible fireworks. He was going to get back to me, and that was last week. So I haven't heard anything today. But
Yeah.
if something comes up, I'll send you an email if it's anything other than fireworks.
Yeah, because it was, we just got several reports of a distinct explosion sound that sounded almost, I think that's where perhaps the thought of the conductor was a blown transformer, I guess. So it was,
Right.
which that made people think it wasn't, but okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was windy that night, but I know it was that day.
Yes,
But, okay.
hot. It was hot we were just getting Santa Ana E, but it wasn't super windy.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Any more questions before we move on? Okay, I'm looking through everybody's feed here. I just do want to mention that we were talking prior. This is the beginning of the year when we start looking. We do live in the shadow of the fires in the mountains, and this is the beginning of the year is when we start looking at action plans and everything moving forward. And with the last Bobcat fire and the evacuation plan that was put in order and all these other things that were happening, now is the time for the discussion. And it was supposed to be discussed a little bit more at this meeting. And I know Councilmember Wong was going to talk about Firewise that they attended with Councilmember Simmons last year. So we will be looking at that, and anybody else has an interest in that, let's follow up so we can get that message out to people, especially when we were all under the evacuation orders last year. So we can be prepared. So we'll be doing that in March. Councilmember Wong.
No, that's exactly right. We're also interfacing with the Forest Service, and obviously the county is huge in this conversation about becoming Firewise. So thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to special presentations, starting with item 4. I will say I'm not sure if order 4.1, which is Stone-Eyed Landscaping. Before I go to that, I just mentioned that we've got a lot of public comments. And so on some of them, we've tried to send them to the people possibly doing presentations and find the right situation, especially when it comes to the park. So all the mainly questions came in rather than comments. We gave them to the parks. If we're going to, I think the people who are doing the presentations are going to try and answer your questions. If you feel that you still have a public comment later, make sure that you let us know if you feel that it wasn't answered and you want to make it public. We will read it into record at a later date. But because we have so many presentations, we're going to try and answer them as they come through. So, okay, go ahead. Mugega, is that how you pronounce it?
Oh, Mugega, that's fine. It's not phonetically spelled. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'll jump right in because we don't have much time. So I'm here to talk about the Stoneyard Landscaping Center, which is misleadingly indicated as this green area here on the map. The business has grown and took over more vacant residential lots adjacent to it, as indicated by this number 2 here. The Spalding lot, where they were improperly storing stones, aggregates, vehicles, and a trailer. And number 4, where this residential lot here that they expanded to, where they are performing welding activities with no safety measures in place to prevent the fumes from permeating into the neighborhood. As they expanded into these locations, they did not involve the agencies that are in place to keep the residents safe. And so we were told that many of these operations that I'll highlight today were allowed despite the proximity to homes and Jackson Elementary School, as you see across the street. And we were led to believe that they were actually allowed to do this over the past 4.5 years. And now we know recently that this is actually not the case. And I'll outline the details to you. So I'm just going to play just a part of this video just to get you in the right frame of mind of what we experience every single day, multiple times a day, including Sundays and holidays. Imagine living 10 feet away from this as it goes on in your backyard. You can see here the property line to a house. You can see above the fence on the property line just dust billowing throughout the neighborhood. You can see many more illegal violations here too. This is dust raining down onto the yard. You can imagine the same thing happens at the yard of Jackson Elementary School. And keep going here. You can also see in the next bit here that there's bobcats being operated, again, right next to backyards. It's loud, it's noisy, and it's unsafe, it's hazardous for our health. Let me just fast forward because we have limited time. Again, a lot of bobcats, a lot of dust being generated. The noise, I'm speaking a little loudly because I have to speak over the machine. Imagine if you are someone living here, you can't work on Zoom, you can't do your daily business because this is what you have to go through. So as you can clearly see from that video, air quality is one of the biggest issues. You've known based on prior presentations with the leaf blowers or the detriment of PM 2.5 and PM 10. I don't have to go over that today. But just to illustrate how much effort the neighbors have gone through, we've called South Coast AQMD over 30 times with complaints. Finally, the business was issued a notice of violation against fugitive dust. But it took quite a long time for us to finally get that on paper, because by the time we call and someone actually comes out, and we see this also for the fume issue, it's sometimes 20, 30 minutes and they're done and they've moved on to the next operation. There's a lot of hurdles. We've also asked for direct measurements to be taken, especially me as a scientist. We were denied. I don't know what else our taxpayer money is going toward besides using those instruments. So I purchased my own instrument and showed a reading on November 17th, PM10 reading of 178 micrograms per meter cubed, where the state requirement is 50 of PM10, and PM 2.5 was 52 micrograms per meters cubed, and the national ambient air quality standard is 30. So this is just really bad for the neighbors. Another huge hurdle that the neighbors have been facing is just inactions by the local agencies. We've had a lot of dialogues with zoning enforcement. I won't go through this in detail, but the first documented complaint to zoning was 2016. Keep in mind when they started using aggregates in that next door lot, which is actually not permitted. They started using aggregates or selling aggregates in 2014, and until 2016, the neighbors were trying to work with the business, trying to be cordial, but finally it was just bad enough to complain. I won't read through the quote, but essentially the excuse was, well, they're zoned for it, but I'll let them know that they abut private residential properties. So again, after multiple complaints, we didn't find out until 2020, keep in mind that's 4 years, that actually all of those activities with the aggregates are not permitted. Nothing on the Archwood or Spalding lot is permitted, and they're just not supposed to do any of those operations. So they finally did scale back their operations in the Spalding lot with this temporary chain link fence here separating them, but they still operate on the Archwood side, where they weld at many times a week, and those off-gassing fumes go into the neighborhood and send residents running inside because it's so toxic. And the particulates generated from the main lot still permeate through the neighborhood. They've moved hardware trailers above and stacked above an 8-foot fence. So it's just illegally stacked. It's hazardous, and it just continues to be an issue. So that's what we've been going through for quite a long time. In addition, building and safety also noticed violations. At first, they were not written up, so we had to elevate it to their supervisor. And still, especially the items on the Archwood side are not permitted. They were told to unplug the power that they illegally ported to that lot. And then after a follow-up inspection, they showed that they plugged it back in. So they don't really have regard for any of the neighbors' safety. So what are we asking for? We would really, really appreciate the support from the Altadena Town Council for two different goals. In the short term, compliance with the law. That's all we're asking for. We want them to involve the right agencies and just be compliant with the law in not only the Spalding lot, but the Archwood lot and their main lot. And the long term, I won't go into the history of why this zoning was made in this way, especially for a neighborhood that is disproportionately lower income and minority. But what I do want to draw your attention to is that it should be changed. There's a lot of hazardous operations going on right by properties of people in their backyard and by school. So I just ask your support in helping us to long-term update the zoning on this block. Thank you.
Okay, I'm assuming that the presentation is over. Is there any questions from the council? No. Okay, did I see Councilmember Wong's hand go up?
I was just going to ask, thank you for your presentation. That's definitely good information. But I was just going to ask, when you did you guys go through the Purple Air monitor?
Purple Air. So I've come across Purple Air as far as air quality, publicly sourced data. The thing about Purple Air is their instrumentation is actually not as sensitive as what South Coast AQMD should be deploying. And that's the caveat that I'm a scientist. I own at work a lot of very expensive equipment, and I know the downfalls of these handheld devices, which is why I literally begged South Coast AQMD to put out their instrumentation and do it per their rules. I completely agree with their rules and their laws. I would like someone to implement it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other more questions? I do know that you are in contact, I think, with your Councilmember Jones in the census tract, and I know that she has been very active in communications with county and everything else. So when it comes to county, I believe Savannah was in the room, and Savannah can make sure that with county, I'm assuming we can forward things and Savannah can send them into the right direction, and we can make sure the question is compliance, right? So Councilmember Jones, you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I have a statement.
Okay.
We've met with Savannah. Savannah's been very helpful, but until we got Savannah involved, there was no help, no remedy, no real response, which was really heartbreaking that the county would treat us like that. Mm-hmm. And we wonder if this was on the other side of lake, would this be happening? And when we look at all the zoning in our census tract and why it's the way it is, the zoning really needs to be updated and changed. We have a lot of horrible situations in our census tract. And it shouldn't be in anybody's census tract. You know, it should be in an industrial area. So that was just my comment. And just to give you a little bit about Dr. Cooper's background, she's a JPL NASA scientist. She actually measures bacteria that goes out in space. So she's an expert at what she does. So that's just my comment.
Which is why this makes me more sad to hear the response, because I know how they would treat someone else that would come from a more informed and richer space. And I just would expect a little bit more from those institutions, just dealing with them professionally.
Okay, Councilmember Anzen and then Councilmember Peck after that.
Just real quickly, Veronica, for whatever it's worth, I'd love to offer up to stand in solidarity with your tract. It does feel systemic and it doesn't feel right. So whoever's on board with me as well, I'd be happy to put together a letter that tells the county we're disappointed with their treatment of this tract and of this certain situation.
Thank you. We need that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilor
And
Wood?
I just wanted to be sure that I understood that these are county officials that are walking away from their responsibilities even when situations are pointed out to them?
That's correct.
Okay, I mean, within the county system, is there any like authority that would have an issue with county officials that don't perform their duties?
Savannah. That's why we have Savannah on our team.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, my last question is, would a resolution from the town council be helpful for you in pursuing this?
Definitely.
Yes, that'd be wonderful.
Well, maybe we could, come up with some wording, or if you have a suggestion for what would most motivate the people you're trying to deal with.
We'll put together a letter and we'll ask the town council for their concurrence on the letter.
And my understanding is the issue is mainly right now code violation, and it's going to be a question of county adhering to the existing codes and enforcement.
And not just code violation. I mean, we've had meetings where we had to painstakingly articulate from our perspective what the violations were as non-professionals. We are expecting them to come up to take the survey and identify things as professionals. And really all of the findings have come from the neighborhood folks.
Well, I have to say, I myself am very impressed with the fact of all the hard work you put behind this. And
these are lives. These are children. They're elderly. You'll hear in the statements. It really it does impact our daily life and lives.
All of us on the council, we're all residents, and we don't know the ins and outs of the zoning and the regulations and everything else. Especially when it comes down to small itemization. So in saying that, I think we can all appreciate the hard work of another neighbor doing what's necessary to make sure the codes are met there. All right. Yep. Can I ask if there are any more questions? And Councilmember Jones said has a plan on moving forward.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd just also like to add, if you don't mind, that I've brought both of my colleagues, Anish Saraya and Anders Corey, and they plan to attend our next meeting. Both of them, one is our public works deputy and the other is our public health deputy. And they'll be at our next meeting hoping to, look at other options to tackle, the overall issue of Stone Yard.
Okay.
Not just the issue of the Stone Yard, and thank you for that, Savannah. It's the issue of how our census tract is treated and how we're minimalized. That's the bigger issue.
And I'll make that clear to the county departments that are involved, because this issue goes beyond just one county department. It's public health, it's building and safety, it's public works, regional planning, and then you add in AQMD, and it's just kind of a lot of agencies that are involved in, taking those measurements that prove that it's unsafe to live there.
Okay. I think any more questions, we're going to move on. Thank you very much for coming and for your presentation and for all the hard work behind it. Sorry if we sound rushed, but we do have more to move on. So thanks again. I know this is not the last time we're going to be hearing of this. So it's going to be a continued conversation. Item 4.2, the NASA JPL groundwater cleanup year in review with Steve Stanton, the NASA Environmental Management Manager.
Hi, Steve Slayton here. Are we able to put up my presentation for everybody to see?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen at the bottom.
Well, I had arranged beforehand. Here we go.
Pasadena Media has it. It's ready.
Right. That's better than let me try to drive it. I might mess it up. Okay, I can be pretty quick here and just realize that anybody can either question me later. You can always get hold of me. We have a website that has all our information. I'll put that all up for you, but I'm going to run real quickly through. Now, a lot of people may know because we've been at this for a lot of years, and I've come to the town council over every few years. I come and give a presentation to other entities around. So I can run pretty quickly, and if people have questions, I'd be glad to answer them now, or we can take care of them later. So that's the first slide. It's just what I'm going to tell you. Let's move on to the second slide. Most people may know that there's a long history. The JPL goes back to World War II when they were doing work to try to help win the war. And they handled chemicals and put them into pits in the ground where they would seep down to the deep groundwater, hundreds of feet below the surface. And then over the decades, that groundwater moved over towards Altadena and Pasadena and impacted groundwater supply wells. Next. This is a map people may recognize. JPL over there, there's the Hacamonga Park. Now across the arroyo is Altadena, and then a little further south is Pasadena. This shows generally where some of those wells are, generally where the groundwater flows in the deep ground, hundreds of feet below the surface. And the next one will show you, it's a cartoon of sort of the plume of chemicals that come from underneath JPL at very low levels, part per billion levels in the groundwater. However, these chemicals, which are common cleaning solvents, plus a chemical called perchlorate, they move slowly in the groundwater, and over the decades, they moved and impacted the city of Pasadena's supply wells and Lincoln Avenue Water Company supply wells. So there was a problem that we recognized we're responsible for, and we realized we had to do the right thing and take care of this problem. So that's what we're doing now. We're paying for all the cost of cleaning this up, and we've made a lot of progress in the last couple of decades. I've been on this project now here for over 17 years, and we've got treatment plants in place. We have all approved plans on how to complete the cleanup over the next few years. Let's move on to the next slide. So quickly, a map shows we actually have 3 treatment plants running. There's one on site at what we call the source area in the middle of JPL there. There's the mid-plume, which is the city of Pasadena, we call it the Monk Hill Treatment System. And then over on the right is Lincoln Avenue Water Company's wells and the picture of the Lincoln Avenue Water Company treatment up on the top right. Next slide. So without going into detail here, you can see that we've been at this for a long time, and we're down to sort of the last inning, if you will, getting close. We have all the treatment in place. It's doing a really good job. We've gotten out most of the chemicals out of the groundwater, and we still have a few years to go, but we've got complete record of decision and approval by all our regulators that we know what we're doing, and what we're doing is working and is going to do good to finish the job. Next slide. Okay, that's a picture of the Lincoln Avenue system. That's right off Olive Avenue. It's kind of hidden back between some homes and some trees, and I think they're work pretty well there in the neighborhood. And that takes we pay for the operation of that. Lincoln Avenue Water Company runs it. We pay all the cost of taking our chemicals out of their water so they can supply that good, clean water to their customers. Next slide. That's a picture of the Monk Hill Treatment System, the city of Pasadena, that's right on Windsor Avenue. We did a lot of, it's surrounded, of course, by Altadena because of the way the little bit of Pasadena property juts up along there. It's on Windsor Avenue. We put in a lot of landscaping along the street and fixed up the street, and it looks a lot nicer than it did before we came in and put in the treatment system. Next. Now, this just is one example of the progress that we made. So you can see going back a decade or so, we had concentrations at this well. This is Arroyo well, one of the most impacted by JPL. And we had, somewhere in the order of 100 parts per billion of perchlorate showing up in this well. And you can see after we got the treatment systems on that it's come down, and we're now down getting close to that line that is 6 part per billion, which is the California drinking water standard, where they set a very strict standard for taking that out. Now it's going to take a few more years of pumping till we can make sure that we reliably stay well below the 6 part per billion drinking water standard. So we've got some years still to go. Next slide. So one thing that is coming up in red there is a new well that's going to be put in that's going to be paid for by NASA and operated by the city of Pasadena. It's called the new Monk Hill Treatment System well. And that's going to speed up the overall cleanup. There was an area up there of the plume that wasn't getting cleaned up in the mid plume. It was gradually moving over towards Lincoln Avenue. It was all being captured. But if we capture it here closer where the levels are a little higher, we can shave years off of the overall treatment and save millions of dollars for the taxpayers. Next slide. I do want to remind people that we are committed to doing community outreach. I've always said that you can't have a good technical project if you don't have people's trust about what you're doing. So be aware that on our website, we have all this information. People can access that. And of course, they can always get a hold of me if they have any other questions. And I am glad to do this kind of presentation to anybody at any time. And I can take up as much or as little time as you want. I think that's it. Next slide is, that shows our website. Just type in jplwater.nasa.gov. You'll go right to it. And it's got lots of information. So that's all I had. Of course, anybody needs anything, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the council? Councilmember Wong?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Just a quick question. So as it relates to the Arroyo Seco Canyon project, where Pasadena is taking more of the water into the spreading basins.
Yes.
Is this incorporated into that project, the new well?
It's a totally separate effort. They really don't have anything to do with each other. Pasadena is doing its own thing. And this well is just another well. There's already 4 wells there. It's one more which will help supply water for the city of Pasadena. So it's a good resource for the city of Pasadena. And it helps us because it helps to clean up the deep groundwater. So really the surface water diversions and the deep groundwater are just 2 separate systems.
Got you. And then the quick question is, with climate change and potentially historic drought that's been going on, when you say years to come, do you think that slows the progress of your cleanup?
If it doesn't rain, if it never rains again, there's less water in there for us to work with, and that's just not a good thing. But we'll do what we need to do to finish the job. But yeah, the rain helps to flush things towards our extraction wells, and it just replaces the dirty water we took out needs to be replaced by Mother Nature with clean rainwater. And that's part of the diversion that the city of Pasadena is doing. They're going further up to get clean water and bring it into the spreading basins to replace the water that we take out every year through the pumping.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from the council? We'll move on to the next presentation. Okay. Thank you very much.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Question, Amy.
Yeah.
Amy? Okay, sorry, Amy. Go
I
ahead.
was wondering whether is there any kind of data about health impacts on the local community that you've been tracking as you've been tracking the decrease in perchlorate in the wells?
No, so the community is not exposed to any of these chemicals because they're all removed before anything goes to the community, and they're all hundreds of feet below the surface, 400-600 feet below the surface. So there's no exposure to these. Now, back when I very first started, we did some health studies. The Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry and Department of Health came in and they did some studies, and they said there's no relationship, there's no exposure. so there's no potential health impacts at the surface to people in Altadena.
I'm not sure if it was in your presentation, Steve, many things happening at the same time, but I just want to double check. So if anyone wants updates or progress or information, where do they find it on the website so they can go check up the progress of the current project?
I just type in that jplwater.nasa.gov. Right on the front page, there'll be a bunch of links to our newest reports, our year-end review, our summaries, all that type of stuff. I think it's pretty easy to navigate, but if you need any help, my contact information is right on there as well.
Sounds good. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Moving on. Assuming that's it on the questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Sorry if it feels a little rushed. So.
All right, that's okay.
I'm going to move on. Item 4.3. We're going to do it's a combined report from the parks regarding the Eaton Canyon update. I will say before we do this, I just want to thank Sam Estrada, who's our resident park person for Altadena, who gives us a monthly update, and to make sure that we got the most information we could out there. He worked with Sean Woods and others in the park to make sure that this presentation got the time it was. And so I really appreciate Sam for working with everything and making this happen. So I'm going to hand this over to you. Before I do that, I want to mention one thing. We did get a lot of emails. I'm sure you're going to address it regarding questions to do with this, which I did pass on to Sean. We hope that because we do have a lot of public comments, if they're not addressed in this conversation, then let us know. We will read them into record next month. But otherwise, I believe there's going to be many more avenues to address your concerns, which we'll probably hear about shortly. So over to you, Sean. Thank you for your time.
Actually, Billy, I'm gonna start off. I'm just gonna, and then I'll introduce Sean. It's okay. But quickly, I would just want to also thank Savannah and the board office and the sheriff's department for helping us during the homeless shelter during that trying time and making sure everybody got to where they needed to go at the end of the shelter. And then quickly, just going over what's going on at Farnsworth. If you're not aware, we did start the construction on the permanent nets for pickleball. So the construction has begun. However, the completion date is to be determined, but it should be a relatively quick process in getting that work completed. The capital project that's also underway at Farnsworth with the ADA rampways, the batting cage, and the Davies building are still on point to be in completion this year. So looking forward to that, and I hope to have a better update for you next month. And then our contract class program has started registration. So you can visit parks.lacounty.gov/reserve and to register for classes. So we'll be offering dance, drums, performing arts, tennis, language classes, piano, yoga, and DIY classes. So there's a large variety of classes that are now open for registration. 99% of them are virtual. So if you want to do these classes in the comfort of your home, you can register for these classes. And then lastly, before I introduce my colleague, there's going to be a presentation next month for the Breathe Southern California. It's adult lung health workshop. So they've been working with Dorothy on that. So we'll have more information about that next meeting. Thank you for giving me this brief time to share the report for Altadena. And I would like to introduce my colleague, Sean Woods, who will be doing the rest of the presentation for Parks.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you to the Town Council for finding time for us tonight on the agenda, a packed agenda. I'm just going to make a few brief comments and then turn it over to Kim Bozell, who is our Natural Areas Administrator, who actually works at Eaton Canyon. And given the packed agenda and the time constraints, tonight we're going to provide an informational update on the proposed operational changes at Eaton Canyon, and to announce that we'll be hosting a series of community listening sessions to provide a forum for more substantive dialogue with the community. As Billy mentioned, we are aware that we've received several questions and comments from the public with regard to the Pinecrest Gate, the reservation system, the implementation of that reservation system. We think that our first public meeting, which will be on March 2nd at 7 p.m. and Kim will provide the details for that, is that's a better forum for us to actually have a more thoughtful discussion about all the proposals that are in the pipeline. So with that, what I'd like to do is pass the baton over to Kim, and she's on hold here and she's ready to make her brief presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Bozell. I am the Natural Areas Administrator for Los Angeles County Department of Parks and Recreation. And I just am here to give you a quick update on Eaton Canyon Natural Area. So Eaton Canyon is a 190-acre natural area park that's adjacent to the Angeles National Forest, with an extremely popular hiking trail that begins in the park and ends at a waterfall destination well within the forest boundary. The county maintains this park as a natural area and a wildlife sanctuary, which means our mission is twofold. First, to protect and maintain the quality of the natural resources, to provide healthy wildlife habitats, and second, to provide nature-oriented passive recreation and educational experiences that allow for personal connections with nature. Prior to the COVID-19 Safer at Home order and the implementation of the current reservation system, trail use at Eaton Canyon had been dramatically increasing. Social media had also created an influx of new hikers with little awareness of the wilderness ethics and principles such as leave no trace. This increase in users was also increasing impacts to the environment, such as habitat and stream degradation, loss of wildlife, crowding on the trails, soil erosion, introduction of non-native weed species, widening of trails, increased user-created and unsustainable trails, increased trash and graffiti, and negative encounters in the surrounding residential areas. Weekends throughout the year saw overflowing parking lots, which extended out deep into the neighborhoods, with people parking more than half a mile away. The worst of it was seen at the beginning of the Memorial Day weekend, when close to 5,000 people were counted on the trail within a 3-hour period. Not only does overuse like this have pervasive environmental effects, but it also severely affects the user experience. In January of 2020, the Board of Supervisors voted to implement a parking fee for weekends and holidays at Eaton Canyon. With the onset of the coronavirus, the implementation of this fee was delayed. We're now preparing to implement this new operation plan beginning April 1st, 2021. Revenue generated from the parking fees are needed to increase resources so the park can continue to operate at the quality that everyone expects and deserves. Specifically, the fees will go directly back to Eaton Canyon for staffing, programming, habitat restoration, and deferred maintenance in order to enhance the user experience. Now, we understand that you received numerous public questions regarding this, and we will address all of those issues in a more thoughtful manner at our first public information session on March 2nd at 7 p.m. This will allow for the community to have ample time to ask questions and provide input. We will be sending out notices for the first meeting this week, and the link will be provided to the Altadena Town Council and will also be located on our Trails website. If you have further questions or would like to be notified of future meetings regarding Eaton Canyon operations, please feel free to contact me at 626-398-5420 or by email at kbozell@parks.lacounty.gov. And I thank you for the time and fitting us in tonight, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Before we move on, Kim, I just want to mention, it is Kim, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to mention one thing quickly. If you mentioned your how to contact you, if you could put that in the chat for everybody so they can see it and get it from the chat. The other thing is, if you could, if you have any other information, if you know the meeting is on March the 4th, or you said, right, March the 4th?
The 2nd. March the 2nd, yes.
If you could give that information so we can post it on our website so that the community can, can follow up, and then people can share it from our website to try and get as many to participate as possible. And I also want to mention you did address a lot of the questions and concerns coming in. We did receive many, and what happens with public comments, We don't actually address public comments directly in the meeting, and then after the public comments are read into record, we pass them along to the census tract representative or whoever would actually follow up on that if you leave your contact information. In this particular case, because you're already here and you're the authority on this, we did pass them all along to you today. So just want everybody to be aware that if you did send in a concern, it's already gone to the right person. Kim and Sean has seen it, and it will be discussed at the March 2nd meeting, so please join with that. Okay, I see a couple of hands coming up. Councilmember Knapp.
Just quickly, that meeting is at the exact same time as the Altadena Town Council Land Use Committee meeting, 7 p.m. on March 2nd. So almost every person on this call that's from the Town Council also sits on the Land Use Committee meeting. So it sounded like you were going to have multiple opportunities for engagement, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay, we can definitely look at that. We haven't sent the invitations out yet, so maybe we can alter the start time or the date. So I'll talk to Sean about that.
Great.
Okay, so we'll confirm that dates in the next few days. In the meantime, if it's once you post it in the chat, everyone will have a contact information. And then once you have the finalization of dates, let's just make sure if we can get it to our corresponding secretary, Councilmember Wong, or to me, I can pass it along so we get the information out there to the community.
Absolutely.
Any more questions? No, I don't see any more hands, any more questions. Okay, thanks ever so much for taking the time and coming and addressing our community. I know this is a lot of concern and thoughtful for our community. So thank you for taking that time. I appreciate you coming. Sorry I happened to be a little rushed. Okay, I am going to move on to general public comments, which is item 5. I'm going to pass you over to Councilmember Santangelo. And again, if it's relating, if the public comments are relating to the Land Use Committee, let's just make sure we save those and that goes to that particular item and is read for that Land Use Committee project. And then, and again, I just want to note that the public comments referring to the trails pertaining to Eaton Canyon and Pinecrest, that has been addressed, and feel free to resubmit if you want it into record next month, but hopefully that will answer your questions and we have a plan on that one. So Councilmember Santangelo.
All right, I have one letter that arrived for last meeting, but was overlooked, was not read, and one that arrived late. I'll read late to be read at the last meeting, that is, so I'll read those two letters real quick. One of was the leaf blower issue that we discussed last meeting. It comes from Vicki Thompson. I am writing to support placing a moratorium on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers here in Altadena and asking Catherine Barger and the LA County Board of Supervisors to enforce this by enacting a moratorium on leaf blowers for the county. I believe that this moratorium would be a time in which a transition to alternatives and the development of supportive opportunities could be publicized and enacted. The presentation on the dangers of using gas-powered leaf blowers given this evening gives many good reasons for requesting a moratorium. However, my personal reasons as a resident of Altadena for over 25 years are as follows. My husband and I are active seniors who walk 2 to 4 miles around the community 6 days a week. Every day we walk, we pass many homes where gardeners are at work using gas-powered leaf blowers as part of their gardening routine. We find this activity very disturbing as it produces high levels of 2.5 UM. Maybe they mean milli, I don't know what that means. UM, small particulate matter in the air, and we are breathing in as we walk. This is not healthy for us or the others in the neighborhood or the gardeners themselves. The leaf blower activity also produces significant noise pollution. This is evident not only as we walk, but also when we are at home, where we hear leaf blowers 2 to 3 times a day every day. This causes disruptions in our activities and the activities of the households around us that now have children as well as seniors home for a majority of the day. Just this past Monday, we had to make a lengthy detour to avoid the clouds of dust and leaves being blown into the street on Wapello Street. This was not just an instance of clearing the curb, but of clearing a large driveway and patio area of debris and blowing it into the street, a definite case of air pollution as well as noise pollution. While I do not wish to cause monetary hardship for gardeners, I believe enacting a moratorium on leaf blowers at this time will significantly improve the air quality and noise level in Altadena. It will provide a time in which our gardeners can be supported and trained in effective ways to keep our yards and gardens in good health and looking attractive while also improving our air and noise level quality, and providing health benefits for all, gardeners included. Thank you for your consideration, Vicki Thompson. The second letter also involves leaf blowers. It is from Adrian Rabani. It is deliberately cumbersome and intentionally exclusionary to condition public comments on census tract lookup, clearly an attempt to suppress comments. This pretentious ban, allegedly for the health, safety, and welfare of Altadena residents, is another attempt to micromanage daily life and enforce a shenanigan in an Orwellian way. Leaf blowers in Altadena are a political fraud and non-issue artificially created by patronizing, belligerent, and power-drunk individuals who are convinced that they know what is best for everyone else. No further restrictions are needed. Days and hours of usage are already regulated. Electrical leaf blowers are not feasible for larger residential and commercial lots. The other letters I received for general comments, this one is from Rosa Fernandez. I am asking the Altadena Town Council for support on holding an open forum via Zoom call with LA County Public Works and the participants in the Water LA Neighborhood Retrofit Program to discuss the county's plans to take over the halted Altadena projects. I want to ask questions and receive answers regarding project completion from the county as a community so we can all be on the same page. I hope the river project can return to finish our projects as initially planned, since they already have the expertise, staff, provided educational workshops, and had a process in place. I fell in love with this organization who encouraged, engaged, and equipped Altadena homeowners with hands-on learning tools that helped us achieve better results both in water capture and in creating healthier ecosystems, which this community so desperately needs. Next general comment from Elizabeth Merfeld. My husband and I bought a home in Altadena over 3 years ago, knowing absolutely nothing about maintaining a yard, much less a third of an acre. The LA River project knocked on our door one day and we were no longer overwhelmed. We had help and were given knowledge. Most important, we had a plan, how to bring the native land back and make our land beautiful. Why has the LA River project not been allowed to finish what they started? I no longer qualify for the TURP rebate program I did qualify for because at the time, LA County Public Works has wasted. LA County Public Works has been incompetent in getting anything moving forward on this project for the last 2 years. 2 years of kicking the can down the road and pointless meetings. Now, another year of phone calls to get all the plans that LA River Project made for us, so LA County Public Works could take over for themselves. Can someone please get this project back on track and finished with the LA River Project? They had all the plans and competent staff ready to go. The only reason to restart this program with new managers is to satisfy some representatives' ego. It's what we have all been dealing with the last 4 years. Our representatives are more concerned with power and their egos than unity and working with others. It is the only reason to remove LA River Project from the project they initiated. Can you please help us finish by supporting an open forum meeting with all involved? Thank you for your time. Let's see. I have a public comment regarding a trail near Wild Rose Canyon. Billy, would that be a part of the Eaton Henninger?
No.
It would not. Different issue. Okay. This is regarding Wild Rose Canyon. It comes from John Lynch. Dear Town Council members, I wanted to inform you all, if you don't already know, that Outward Bound Adventures has started work on a multi-use trail in the vicinity of Wild Rose Canyon, accessed via the Sunset Ridge Road above Loma Alta Park. The land was recently transferred to the MRCA as part of the Save the Altadena Trails versus Lavina lawsuit. A process was started in 2006 to go through CEQA, get public input and hold hearings on the alignment, but it was never completed that I know of. The canyon where the trail is being constructed falls in a recently designated significant ecological area. It contains both riparian and old growth oak woodland. The area is unique because there are at least 4 distinct species of oak that contain that have identified and several other local rare species such as California peony, wild roses, and woodwardia ferns. We have also spotted bobcats, signs of mountain lions, and rare legless lizards. The proposed route is in a box canyon that traverses very steep erosive topography through dense oak woodland. There is no clear or realistic way to connect to the Angeles Forest or Millard Canyon beyond as it was conceived as part of the Altadena Crest Trail. There will be massive impacts to the environment from the trail construction and use by equestrians once completed. When we asked the MRCA and County Park and Rec for any CEQA documentation, geological studies, engineering plans, or oak tree permits required, they have only responded so far that they would get them if needed. I am very concerned because it does not seem like the MRCA and county has done their due diligence in regards to this project. A landowner should not hire a contractor and start building the foundation of something without first getting public input and their plans and permits approved. I believe that the work being done on the trail should be stopped until they have gone through the legal process like all the other landowners in the area have to. Please use your influence with the county to do the right thing by our precious biological resources. John Lynch. Another letter regarding Lavina. My name is Tracy Alsobrook, and I'm a resident of Altadena. I have worked in the field of environmental compliance for the last 30 years. My comment today is regarding the Lavina East Trail, currently under construction by the Mountains and Recreation Conservation Authority, or MRCA. While this trail has been the subject of litigation and has been contemplated in one form or another for the past 30 years, we are concerned that given the age of the existing California Environmental Quality Act documents, that the proper CEQA review and permitting has not taken place. When an environmental impact report has been certified for a project, Public Resources Code Section 21166 and CEQA Guidelines Section 15162 and 15164 set forth the criteria for determining whether a subsequent EIR, subsequent negative declaration addendum, or no further documentation be prepared in support of further agency action on the project. In this case, the original EIR for the Lavina development dates to 1989 and the supplemental EIR to 1992. The Lavina specific plan posted on the Los Angeles County Regional Planning website is dated 1989. These older documents contain exhibits with varying trail alignments. On January 16, 2020, Los Angeles County Regional Planning adopted the revised Significant Ecological Area Ordinance and Ordinance Implementation Guide, which includes a new Altadena Foothills and Arroyos SEA. The Lavina East Trail, as well as the proposed trails to the north and west of Lavina, are now located within the Altadena Foothills and Arroyos SEA, a designation that did not exist when the specific plan was adopted. Development within an SEA is reviewed with a key focus on site design as a means for conserving fragile resources such as streams, woodlands, and threatened or endangered species and their habitats. The current trail alignment contains ephemeral streams, oak woodlands, and the potential for sensitive, threatened, or endangered species. The SEA ordinance requires that development within an SEA apply for an SEA conditional use permit with limited exemptions. We, neighbors and interested parties, believe that none of these exemptions apply and that an SEA CUP is required, which would trigger CEQA and the need for further CEQA review. Starting in September 2020, we have repeatedly requested documentation indicating that the proper CEQA review has been undertaken. We have also been told that the trail work falls under the original EIR and that no rare plant surveys are required. In addition, the trail area is also within a hillside management area that requires county review. Other potential areas of concern are whether the appropriate actions have taken place under AB 52, Native American consultation, if other agencies. What's that?
That's overtime.
No. I'll skip the next paragraph. These are public documents that should be readily available. And this is from Tracy Alsobrook. I have a short comment here also from Sherry Asplund. My name is Sherry Asplund. I'm a resident of Altadena. In 2002, I was a co-founder of Save the Altadena Trails, an organization dedicated to preserving public access to historic Altadena trails. In 2005, STAT filed a lawsuit against the Lavina Homeowners Association and Developers Southwest Diversified, Cantwell Anderson, and Brookfield Homes for non-compliance with promises made regarding hiking trails around and through the Lavina development. These promises were a condition of approval of the project by the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. Shortly after the STAT lawsuit was filed, LA County and the Board of Supervisors filed a lawsuit against the same parties to enforce certain project conditions that were imposed when granting various entitlements. 16 years later, trails are starting to be built, but they are not what STAT envisioned. They are not through the development. The trail work initiated on the east side has raised many questions about destruction of sensitive habitat, whether proper reviews, surveys, and permitting have taken place. I am requesting that this trail work be halted until the many questions about CEQA compliance, recent surveys, and permits can be answered and copies provided. This effort should not become another series of hastily made bad decisions. There are many local experts who can help guide the work. And I believe the last general comment I have is from Michiko Lynch. Good evening, my name is Michiko Lynch. On behalf of Canyon Crest Conservancy, I would like to introduce one of our projects, Welcome Letter to Our New and Old Neighbors. Here are some key points I would like to share tonight. 1, when you drive Canyon Crest Road, slow down and enjoy beautiful scenery. 2, feed your pets inside. In other words, avoid leaving food outside to prevent wildlife desensitized to our presence and prevent making them nuisance animals. 3, ditch rodenticides and go non-toxic. Rat poisons work their way up the food chain, poisoning foxes, bobcats, mountain lions, hawks, and owls also pose a threat to pets and children. Number 4, limit night lighting for special occasions only. 5, be bear aware. When you see a bear, it's best to leave her alone. No need to call law enforcement or local news. Fed bear is dead bear. Keep your garage door closed and tasty. Smelly food scraps out of the bin until the last minute of trash collection. I don't think that she means keep the garage door tasty. She means tasty food scraps away. Just want to make sure you understand. Number 6, all snakes are beneficial, but rattlesnakes can pose a problem. Avoid providing potential homes for them, like wood piles in your yard. Search your local snake whisperers, just like the Meadows neighbors did, for further assistance. 7, keep dogs leashed on walks, especially on the trails, for safety of them and wildlife. Number 8, trees and plants are crucial for a healthy ecosystem. To keep birds safe, plan to trim trees before their nesting season. Oak trees are protected species. Check local and county ordinances before pruning. Native plants will save you money on water and provide habitat for birds and bees. Please avoid planting invasive plant species, especially if your property is adjacent to Illard or Prieto canyons. Do your part by following brush cleaning requirements. And the only 2 remaining letters I have regard the Stone Yard landscape presentation. Should I read those as well?
That's already happened, so those would come under public comments, yes.
Okay, these are 2, I believe the last 2, and these regard the presentation on the Stone Yard. Good morning to everyone. My name is Mario Leal, and I live in Altadena. I have lived adjacent to the Stone Yard landscape business for over 7 years, and throughout the years, their disregard for the physical safety, mental health, and physical health of the members of the surrounding neighborhood has heightened and greatly impacted me and my neighbors. They have caused damage to my and my neighbor's property on numerous occasions. Their employees park on my street, and I know they've arrived because of the loud music and shouting that goes on outside at 6 a.m. Not only that, but on their way home, they tend to leave their trash on the street, which is disrespectful and disgusting. The noise pollution has made the ability for me to work from home as a teacher an arduous task. Not only is their reckless activity affecting me, but is also affecting my 200 students who are disrupted by the noise. The noise pollution accompanied by the dust and toxic particles emitted by their work trucks and products has affected my physical health and mental health. I am constantly going to the doctor due to sinus infections, and my stress levels definitely rise as a result of living next to what seems to be a never-ending construction zone, which goes on 7 days a week. Based on the noise and activity level, their business seems to be booming, and the hazards are going to only increase. I plead with you to rezone this area. It just doesn't make sense to a very active business in a residential area. I love this community, and I would hate to leave over a business that does not care about that community and disrespects it on a daily basis. Thank you. And finally, a letter from Angelita Martinez. I am a resident who has lived in Altadena for 30 years. For the last 6, we have been getting toxic odor and noise. The odor comes and goes throughout the day. It is so strong at times that we have to run in and shut our front door and windows so the smell doesn't come inside. I live with seniors and a 5-year-old. We can't enjoy being outside for long because of the odor. My son had many upper respiratory infections when he was little. Reasons were always unknown. My father just recently retired in November 2019, and in March 2020, he started feeling sick. Since March 2020, he has had an upper respiratory infection. I'm starting to wonder if these upper respiratory infections are caused from all the odors. We live directly behind Stoneyard Landscaping, and the welding goes on, which is just feet away from our front yard. I'm also starting to feel sick started feeling sick a few days ago, and I will be going to the doctor soon. I also have my mother, who is 76 years old. I'm afraid she will get sick if she's outside for long. I shouldn't have to worry about my health or my family's health. We shouldn't have to live this way. The noise also starts as early as 6 a.m. and is very loud, so loud that my windows shake. I ask that you please review our agenda and help us. This has gone on for too long. Your help is appreciated. Thank you for your time. She enclosed pictures, but I can't show you. They're just pictures from her house looking on.
Related to the Lavinia trails to Savannah, please.
Absolutely, will do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that, again, we want to make sure they're directed to the right council members. So if Nick, as I was reading, I was making a note. So the ones relating to the Stoneyard would go to council member Veronica and Darrell. All the ones to do with the Rose Canyon and Canyon Crest, and Lavinia is also in the same census tracts would be Dorothy and Hannah. And then the water project, the Water River project, I know that we have people in Veronica census tract, Dorothy census tract, and mine and Nick census tract. So you can pass those along to us, and in Chris's census tract. So you can pass those along to all of us. And then the leaf blower comments were general. And so that goes out to everybody. So if you're paying attention, add that to your thought process from everything you've heard on that topic. Okay.
And the ones to Savannah.
And yeah, and as Diane said, the ones to the Lavinia to Diana. I actually did mention that.
Savannah.
Savannah.
Not Diana.
Right.
Savannah. Yeah.
Savannah.
Thank you.
Very well.
All right.
There, by the way, for the new people, there have been loads of lawsuits around all of those trails and Lavinia for what were they saying, 30 years or something? And all that needs to go through the county. So through the supervisor's office. So Savannah needs to get those.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on. Item 6, Altadena Community Reports, the Altadena Library 6.1 with Director Nikki Winslow. Welcome, Nikki.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Let me start here. All right. So good evening and to council members and the Altadena community. Good to see all of you again. As you know from my updates the last 2 months, our staff have been working from home and sadly our curbside service was suspended due to the increased COVID numbers. Well, tonight I am very happy to share that we will be bringing staff back to the buildings on March 1st. We've already opened the book drops for people that want to return materials. We got a lot of calls about that, so those are already open. Although all library materials have been extended to the due date of mid-March. So it's not like people need to bring them back, but if they want to, they can. We're gonna open up the ability to place holds next week. And then, as I mentioned, the following week when we return, we will launch curbside service again. So please sign up for any updates, including our e-newsletter at altadenalibrary.org/newsletters. Just a reminder that until that time, and after that time as well, staff are available to answer questions either through telephone reference or live chat through the website. All right, so in celebration of Black History Month, the library has participated in programming, including an amazing interview with Linnell George about her work and writing on Octavia Butler. We partnered with the Altadena Historical Society for this event held last Monday, February 8th. The video should be released soon, and I highly recommend you check it out. It was really interesting, the conversation. We also have a fun story walk on the sidewalks around the main library with the book Thank You, Omu. Very fun activity for kids or any age. So walk over to the library and check it out. And we also have an abundance of materials to check out in Cloud Library, Hoopla, and all of our online resources. So check out the website. I'm extremely excited to announce that we purchased our van this past weekend, which we will be modifying to be our third library branch on wheels. Hoping to launch it in late spring to help promote the summer reading program initiatives and bring, library services out to the entire community. Thank you to anyone who donated to Taste of Dina or any of the other fundraising events to bring this new mobile library service to fruition. Our wonderful marketing and community engagement manager, Chloe Cavalier, has started scheduling a new round of community conversations with the help of many of our town council members and our support group board members. We want to gather feedback from our Altadena neighbors, especially as we are embarking on renovations of both the libraries in the next few years. Thank you to Veronica and Daryl for scheduling our first community conversation later this month with their census tract. We'd love to connect with all of the council members. So if you're not in touch with Chloe, please get in touch with her to get one scheduled. More information about this whole initiative can be found on our website at altadenalibrary.org/community-conversations. All right, we have also embarked on an effort to connect with all of the Little Free Library owners throughout the community. Our friends of the Altadena Library are generously donating books and other materials to fill up these Little Free Libraries, which have been really popular while you haven't been able to actually use curbside through our library system. And we're also looking to create a network of literacy champions across Altadena. If you know of anyone that has one, please have them shoot an email to us at hello@altadenalibrary.org. Or if you're interested in more information about these, just go ahead and reach out. All right, so thank you to Victoria Knapp for organizing the screening and panel discussion this coming Sunday, February 21st at 1 p.m. called Pasadena, Exploring Solutions to Reduce Gang Violence. Participants can sign up to watch and ask questions of filmmaker Steve Sneed and community organizer Brian Beery following the film. Again, thanks for the partnership on this event. And I also did, and there's the tiny URL /FebDina screening for anyone that wants to sign up for the event. I also did want to remind the community that our Board of Trustee meetings are held on the fourth Monday of the month at 5 p.m. They're all streamed live, just like you guys, on our YouTube channel. So to close out, a reflection from the author of Emergent Strategy, Adrienne Marie Brown, which I highly recommend, by the way. All of my management team has read this book together. How do we turn our collective, full-bodied attention towards collaboration? If that is the way we will survive. So I appreciate all of our collaboration with the Town Council, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? I don't see any. I will say that if everybody's as excited as I am when I heard the March the 1st date.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get back.
Very nice.
I think
very good to hear.
A quick note. I know you do the Friends of the Library, the book extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
And the used book sale. Is that, I don't know how you do that for COVID, but any plans on something later on this year with that?
Well, I continue to meet with the Friends board on the first Saturday of each month. As of right now, the volunteers aren't comfortable coming back into the building. Yeah. So as soon as they are, then we will definitely get a book sale organized. What I'm kind of foreseeing will happen is when we open the floodgates of donation taking, we're almost going to have to have a book sale right after, because we get called constantly to see if people can return materials. So as soon as everybody's comfortable with that, we'll bring them back and hopefully sell lots of books.
Okay. Question from Councilmember Knapp.
Just quickly, Nikki, during this time of closure, have you been, this is going to sound like such a ditzy question, but have you been keeping up with new book purchases so that when you do reopen for holds next week, we're looking at things that have come out during this time?
Yeah, the staff has actually been doing a lot of digital ordering, especially, but also physical book ordering. So most of us have been working from home, but some of the staff have been coming in to place orders, accept shipments of books and other things like that. So there will be new items as well. Yeah.
Councilmember Peck?
So are you saying that you're not taking donations for books right now for this, for the free libraries, for the little libraries?
No, I think people that want to donate to those can just take them to the free little libraries. What we're doing is putting some book plates inside of current donations that we have in the building and trying to help fill up those little free libraries. We just don't have the capacity with no volunteers to accept donations right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any more questions before we move on? All right, I think that's it. Thank you very much for coming again, Nikki.
Of course.
We'll see you in March. Have a great week. All right, moving on. Item 6.2, Altoona Chamber of Commerce, Doug Cauliflower.
Good evening, everybody. I just have one brief announcement. In celebration of Women's History Month, which is March, if you did not know, we will be hosting another virtual mixer entitled Women Making a Difference, and we will be honoring Altadena women-owned businesses. The details are almost done. I unfortunately don't have them with me this evening, but it will be up on our website. The date is Saturday, March 13th from 11 to 12:30, so please mark your calendars. We had a wonderful event, a Christmas mixer, and I'm sure this one will be as good or even better. So as I said, save the date. Details should be forthcoming very, very shortly. And that is the only announcement I have, but happy to answer any questions anybody else may have.
I will actually add to what Doug just said in honor of Women's History Month. For those that don't know, our small Chamber of Commerce in Altadena had the very first female president of any chamber in the United States back in the 60s. A woman called June Davison. So a little bit of history fact for you.
Oh, thank you, Billy.
Yeah. Any questions for Doug?
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Okay. Item 7, Land Use Committee, Councilmember Markuson.
Diane, you're muted.
You're muted.
I got it. Sorry. I was on my agenda so I could see what I was doing and I didn't realize I was on mute. Okay. We had 3 items that the Land Use Committee voted on at the meeting 2 weeks ago. And those 3 items we voted to recommend to the town council. So we're going to go ahead and present those tonight. Dorothy, you have the first one, which is 82 West Palm Street.
Yes, thanks, Diane. So our project, I also have my fellow Land Use Committee member and council member, Hannah Petrie. She's also has been helping with this project. So this is a residential lot split at 82 West Palm. And the project number is 2017-005913. And so this is a request to divide a single family lot into 2 residential lots, approximately even. So the lots will be approximately 58 feet wide and 53 feet wide and about 92 feet deep. And so from that, Hannah and I went around prior to the Land Use Committee meetings and reached out to the surrounding neighbors with flyers and the map of the lot split. And Hannah, do you want to take it away?
Sure. We just got 2 written comments. The first one is from Elizabeth and Josh Seffel. They said, "We are writing in support of the division of the single family lot into 2 lots. We reside on West Palm Street on the same block as the lot and would be happy to see the currently vacant lot developed. And then we also heard from Elliot Gold, who said the owners of 82 West Palm, my neighbor 3 doors away, is making a wise decision asking to zone the property into 2 lots. As it is now, there is a very nice residence on 1 lot, but the second, the one which will be split, is overgrown by weeds, etc. The change will be nice for our neighborhood. Elliot Gold.
Thank you. And so Hannah and I went around the streets of Palm, which this is located on between Glen Rose and Fair Oaks, as well La Corona. And Pine Street is the street behind, directly behind the properties, and spoke to the homeowners there who said they had been contacted previously about it, and they were all welcome to have that happen. So the only comments that we heard were concerns when the property actually gets developed, that a couple of people were concerned that it would be multi-unit apartments. So since we're just working on the land divide right now, we just wanted to share that with you. So with that note, council members, do you have any questions? I don't think we have any.
Council members from anybody else?
Okay,
No?
so if you want to go ahead and make your motion, Dorothy.
Yes, thank you. So in the matter of project RPPL 2017009013, Hannah and I, or do I have to move?
I move, go ahead.
Okay, I move that the Altadena Town Council recommend approval of the MCUP to the Department of Regional Planning without conditions.
I second.
Okay, Alan seconding. Is there any discussion?
All public
ahead.
comments. Is there any public comments before we vote?
Dorothy, do you have any public comments on this one? You don't, do you?
I didn't receive any new ones since the
No.
2 that Hannah read.
And
Hannah read, yeah.
So unless Nick did.
Did Nick have any comments going to?
I have not received any comments regarding that project, no.
No. Okay. Billy, do you want to take the vote?
Sure. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. And any abstentions? Unanimous.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get a letter out to regional planning. Okay, the next one that we have is Victoria Knapp, variance for 2757 Winrock.
Yes, good evening. This is regarding minor CUP, I'm sorry, minor CUP, yes, minor CUP RPPL 20200005646, which is a minor conditional use permit to bring a long ago built unpermitted, oh my goodness, I tongue-tied, unpermitted addition into, it's to get a variance for that because that addition, it does not meet the 25-foot rear setback required by the Altadena CSD. And there are the property which sits on Winrock has no neighbors behind it because the wash runs immediately behind this property. And we received letters of support from both neighbors on either side adjacent to the building or to the residence and across the street. I did want to read those because I think that even though I provided them to land use, I don't believe we ever read them into the record. So I would like to do that now just for the sake of having them into the record.
And
So,
Victoria, we'll consider that public comment for this item.
Great.
Unless there's any other ones. Okay.
Do you
go ahead.
want me to hold off then until we get to public comment for this, or go ahead and read it now?
You can go ahead and read them now. That's fine.
Okay. So the first comes from Peter Doms. Peter Doms writes, I am writing in support of the variance requested for the subject permit on the subject property. I'm the owner and resident of 2760 Windrock Avenue, directly across the cul-de-sac from subject property. I have lived at this address for more than 30 years, and the unpermitted addition at 2757 Windrock has been there for most or all of that time. It has never posed any problems or been of any concern to me. It would be preferable to me to have that addition permitted rather than to have it converted to an ADU, which would increase traffic in the cul-de-sac. Thank you for considering my input on this matter. The second comes from Leland and Teresa Shepherd. I am the owner of 2773 Windrock Avenue. My direct neighbor to the south is 2757 Windrock. I am writing in support of the request for variance for the unpermitted addition constructed there by a former owner. My family has lived at 2773 since June 2006. The addition has been there the entire time and never posed any problems or been a concern to us. In my opinion, having Ms. Hernandez and family properly redo this portion of the structure would be a positive in at least two ways. First, increases our own property value, and second, it ensures the addition is done correctly, not only by a realtor contractor, but also approved by the county. We have completed our own construction and understand the value of having inspectors in LA County checking out the work. Moreover, I would prefer the addition be part of the home itself versus an accessory dwelling unit, which may motivate the homeowner now or in the future to rent the ADU, increasing traffic and tenants rather than homeowners on our otherwise sleepy cul-de-sac. And the third is from Doug Philman and Greg Kachowski. We are writing in support of the variance requested for the subject permit at the subject property. We are the owners and residents of 2753 Windrock Avenue, Altadena 91001. Our house is next door, directly to the south of the subject property. We have lived here since May 2003, and the unpermitted addition at 2757 Windrock has been there the entire time. It has never posed a problem, nor has it been of any concern to us. We would prefer to have the addition permitted rather than have it converted to an ADU, which would create additional traffic and parking issues in the cul-de-sac, which is frequented by several of the neighborhood children as a safe place to ride their bikes and scooters under their parents' supervision. Thank you for your consideration of our view on this matter. That concludes the public comment that we received for this project. There was no dissension from any of the neighbors with regard to the project. So if there are any questions from council, I will entertain them before I make a motion. I can't see everybody. Now I can see everybody. Okay, there appears to be no questions. So I move that the Altadena Town Council recommend approval of minor CUP RPPL 20200005646 without conditions. Can I get a second?
Motion.
Second.
I'm not sure. I think Daryl or Sandra seconded.
Yeah.
Do we have any public comments before we go to a vote?
I just read them, Billy.
Read
We
those?
considered the letters, the public comment. Oh, was there any additional? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick. Anything
Nick, did you
additional?
get any
No.
additional?
No, we.
I received
I'll talk to
nothing,
you guys
no.
offline about that. Yeah, remember I said the public comment was coming to the people who were presenting the projects.
Well, then call the question.
I didn't get anything.
I call the question.
Okay, go ahead, Billy. Do you want to take a vote?
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So moved, unanimous.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. And now we're going to go to Chris O'Malley, who has, oh gosh, Calaveras. 408, right.
West Calaveras, homeowner is asking for our approval of a minor CUP number RPPL 2020-005643. He would like to build a family room alongside the same plane as his existing structure, which is a 5-foot setback from the property line, in contradiction to the 11-foot 4-inch requirement in Pasadena CSD. It does follow along the same plane that is already pre-existing. I had talked to, there's only one neighbor that would really be affected, and they wouldn't even really be that affected. I did talk to them. They sent me an email. I can read it in the record now. Our neighbor, Todd Hodge, informed us that there will be construction on his property and the new addition will be along the original structure plane. We have no input, nor do we object to the project. We are his next door neighbor at 420 West Calaveras. That is from Florentino, Gloria, and Pat Correa. So if there are any questions, I will take them.
Does anybody need, Chris, can you share, if we need it, can you share your screen showing the?
I can.
Does anybody need to see the layout of where the addition is on the project? Just asking. Okay, never mind.
Cool. All right, then I move that the Altadena Town Council recommend the approval of minor CUP number RPPL 2020-005643 without conditions.
Second.
Okay, that's Daryl seconding. Thank you, Daryl.
Can I just make a comment that the CUP number you read, Chris, was not the CUP number on my agenda?
You have the project number, 2020-001673-5.
There it is. Okay, and then you had I see you got a different number that's not on here. Got it.
Yes, sir. One's the project number, the other's the minor CUP. They're both in the record.
Okay, thanks, Victoria. Thanks for trying to keep us honest, though, Victoria. I appreciate it. I really do. Okay, Billy, we're ready for a vote. Wait, did Daryl seconded?
Okay, are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So moved, unanimous.
Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you next month. We have more. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make one quick comment is it did come around to several council members. If you could make sure, if you do have an action item with land use, if you could make sure that the motion gets out before the meeting to everybody, along with any other information you can supply to help save time than getting into discussions here, although these were pretty basic and easy without a lot of depth. So just want to bring that to your attention. Item 7.2, the election committee.
Good evening again. I think everybody got an email from Billy explaining the election. Okay, so I won't go over that. I'm going to make a motion. I move that the annual town council election be moved from the current month of June to the month of November, aligning more with our local and national elections.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Markison.
Diane and who?
Yeah, well, no. Veronica, the only thing I'm thinking is that in your motion, you should say that we should also amend our bylaws.
Right.
And the election.
Thank you, Diane.
Rules. Yeah,
Yes,
that's all.
the bylaws will have to be amended.
Right, so in the motion, we can put in there that we'll do that as part of this motion.
Okay.
I have a question.
Hold on a second, Alan. I second the motion as amended.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. My question is, I agree that it should be lined up with the national and state elections, which is normally what, the first Tuesday in November?
Right.
Should we be more specific? If the elections are always for a week, like 2 different times, should we make either the first one or last one be the first Tuesday of November, and then the other one be either the week before or the week after?
The Tuesday is always the election date for the early voting, and then the election is always that Saturday after.
Right.
So if it's the first Tuesday of the month in November, then the election day will be the first Saturday after that.
And that's what I mean. I think we should be specific.
So the motion should also be amended to add the first Tuesday of November.
Yes.
And the first, and then
I so
the,
moved.
And the first.
and the following
Following
Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
I so moved. That it be amended to include that.
Okay.
So we're amending.
I just want to, for the record, let everybody know the reasoning that we're looking at this is not that we're trying to change the voting. It's that because of last year's pandemic and we couldn't actually have the regular meeting in June, the regular election in June because of the pandemic and no gathering. It was moved to the election date in November, along with the general election. So it would tie into people already going out to vote during this pandemic. As the new elected council members were only sworn in December, and this would be the month of February when we would have a motion and put the new rules on the table for this year's election. 2 months does not give the new council members time to understand the process. It also doesn't give us time to get enough volunteers to set everything up. Plus, November did seem like it was a higher turnout and bigger participation within the community. So the motion on the table is to move this year's election.
I think, Veronica, you should read the amended motion.
The other question.
Amended motion.
I did see it going around that several people mentioned about actually moving the election date or just this year. Does that want to come up for discussion?
The motion is to have it moved and change the bylaws.
Permanently.
Yeah.
Permanently.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, and I think I didn't explain because I thought you had sent out an email earlier with all that in there, right?
Yes, but this is a public meeting and I want to make sure it's on record of any discussions that goes out there.
Okay, go ahead.
What does this do for executive committee slate and positions? Because typically that follows our elections.
Yeah, I think Victoria, the plan is to change anything in the bylaws that would need to be changed in the bylaws. Ordinarily, we swear the people in a month after the election. Well, I'm sorry, we have the election, we certify the election that later that month, we swear people in later that following month, and at the same time, the executive committee gets. So it's all
So
right.
it'll follow the same route as we did this year.
This last time.
Yeah, the last election. So it'll follow that
But
same
we'll
route.
we just need to, it's the same theory, it's different months, I guess, is what we're saying. And we do need to change both the bylaws and the election rules. Okay,
Okay, so
Veronica, do you have a revised
Oh,
motion?
okay, so I have a revised motion.
Okay.
That the annual town council election be moved from the current month of June to the month of November, aligning with our local and national election. And that we, as Alan said, what did you say, Alan?
That the early voting be on the Tuesday, the first Tuesday of
That we
November,
state the exact day will be the first Tuesday of November.
and the final voting would be on the subsequent Saturday.
Saturday will be regular voting.
Mhm.
And we will be amending the bylaws and the election rules.
Correct.
Second the motion.
I can. And then
Sandra
before we go
seconds, Sandra seconds.
Before we go to a vote, I did see a hand come up from Councilmember O'Malley. Do we have any questions on that?
Not to be a stickler for procedure, but which part of the bylaws are we amending exactly?
The election.
Like two sections, like two little sentences. It's not very much.
Okay.
I mean, we can say that we'll amend the election section and the,
Yeah.
All right.
it's not, we are not very specific in the bylaws, if you want to go look.
I was looking, that's why I was wondering. There's,
Yeah,
I didn't see like a specific date there as it is now, so.
There's no date in there now. Right?
The other thing too is even though we voted to change the bylaws, any change would still have to be voted in.
That's right. We have to approve the bylaws once they're changed.
And it's Article 7 of the bylaws, which refers to elections.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Article 12, because I can read Roman numerals. So sorry. This is what a concussion will do.
Okay, remember you're over your concussion. You can't blame it on that anymore. Okay.
Okay.
Are we good then, or what, are we voting? What are we doing?
We're good.
He had a second.
I
It's
say,
Okay.
Can I just, can I clarify one thing? Are we voting to change it only this year, or we're voting for the permanent change? We just didn't use that word. I know we're changing the bylaws and the election rules, but we're all future. Okay.
Permanently change. Yeah. So to permanently change the bylaws and the election date to the as specified in the motion, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So moved, unanimous. All right. I think with also too not knowing exactly where this pandemic's going right now and what's happening, I think this is a very wise move at this point. And I was excited to see the extra participation in the community in last year's November. So hopefully that enthusiasm will continue to go forward.
Yeah.
Item
We got
7.
some great candidates too. So we got some great.
We did.
people.
We had a candidate for every tract, plus we had more than one candidate for most tracts, and we had a really good turnout from the community. So we have, which means the council's stronger because we have better candidates. Well, everyone's a good candidate, but okay. Moving forward, item 7.3, Safe Streets, Councilmember Wong.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm just going to give 2 updates on the Safe Streets Committee. So we had, sorry, I have to move my screen. On January 28th, LA County Vision Zero, Altadena Slow Street Networks, LA County hosted a virtual community meeting. And that was introduced by Public Works Matt Dubiel. And then we had Fong Trin, the engineer, one of the managing engineers of the Slow Streets program. And Altadena, if you can believe it, received 200 Slow Street signs. Many enthusiastic people here in our community seem to be concerned about traffic safety. So again, the Slow Streets are part of LA County's Vision Zero Action Plan, a plan for safer roadways, reducing traffic deaths and severe injuries in unincorporated areas through 2025. So with that said, we had some good participation. Folks asked good questions. And it is recorded, so I'll see if I can get that recording and put it on the Town Council website. From that, there was a survey that was created for anyone. So I can also share that if anyone wants to provide information. It was targeted towards the Slow Street Network managers, but ultimately it's open to anyone who wants to fill it out. So so let's see. So we had the most Slow Street signs in all of unincorporated Los Angeles County. And there are more that haven't actually been, so they have been moved strategically now to reduce damage. Many of you have seen that. And there were more that were applied for, and we were told that they would all be implemented in order of priority before the program's over. And again, this is a COVID program, so we'll see how that rolls out. And then, let's see, the Loma Alta pop-up sidewalk is rolling itself through the approval phase. So I spoke with Jonathan Gonzalez, and he updated me that hopefully we'll be doing some sort of slow implementation of the sidewalk along Loma Alta and Sunset Ridge. So that will just make safer space for people to move walking, biking, running around the park. It's the ultimate goal during COVID. And then many of you saw a 4-way stop sign went in at Mariposa and Santa Anita. And then mark your calendars on next Thursday, 2/25, we are going to have a Safe Streets Zoom meeting. And on that, our topics will be the Metro Next Gen bus. It has already done some implementation. but in just a few months, the summer, they are going to be implementing, as I understand it, the complete transition of the next gen. And also with that is the Metro Micro Transit. And also there are opportunities for more pedestrian safety training in Altadena. So we'll kind of talk about that and anything else anybody wants to talk about. So again, 7 o'clock next Thursday, 2:25. I think that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, I am actually, before we go to the census tract reports, I just want to bring Councilmember Knapp up to give an update on the parks. That she has an update on the dates that was discussed earlier in the meeting.
Hi, Sean Woods reached out to me to say that they would like to move the meeting that they previously scheduled for March 2nd to March 3rd at 7 p.m. So it'll be that Wednesday, March 3rd, 7 p.m. and they will get notification out to the community.
So that's the day after the land use, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we have an actual date and time, and then I'm assuming once they have everything then we can get it to Councilmember Wong to post on the website. So that is to come, but we have an official date and time. And again, that the Councilmember Knapp and I think Markuson and who else on that side is all borders on that Eaton Canyon. So I'm just saying these are the council members' census tracts that borders on the issue that we're talking in discussion there. Okay, thank you very much for that update. I'm going to move on to census tract reports. The first one, 8.1, is 4602. Actually, that's mine and Nick's. I'm just going to do a quick update. Farnsworth Park Playground Replacement Project. If you are interested in that, the next round of meetings for the community input and community updates, there's Thursday, March the 4th at 2 p.m., Friday, March the 5th at 6 p.m., Saturday, March the 6th at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you want to contact me or Nick, we can get that information for you and send you a link and forward you this information link, or any other census tract if you have anyone questioning or asking about what's happening with the playground updates and replacement project at Farnsworth, just let us know. But anyway, so I want to get that out and we can forward you the information. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm sure if you've been driving along Altadena Drive, you've seen a lot of the trees being planted there recently. And I just want to point this out on some of the things that goes really well on council is last year when a couple of us council members were volunteering at the library, some lovely lady from Santa Anita and Altadena came and approached us and asked us, she had two concerns. One was how ugly Altadena Drive was between St. James and Santa Rosa, and also traffic safety at Santa Anita. So we all connected with county to see what they could do. She suggested digging up the cement and putting trees in there. And as you now can tell, what used to be, I've been here for 15 years, and 15 years ago, it used to be an RV parking lot along there and a giant cinder block wall. Well, now with the large vehicle ordinance, for many years, we don't have the RV parking lot. And now that cinder wall is embraced with a whole line of freshly planted trees by county. And that whole area is incredibly beautified. And so I want to say thank you to the county for that and for the community member. And the community member, I don't want to give out a name, but she was extremely happy. And I have an email from her here. And I just want to say, it just goes to show you that if, you know, what you may or may not think can happen, reach out to us. Something, you know, hopefully things can make a difference and we do our best. And sometimes we end up beautifying Altadena in the process. So I want to thank everybody there. Also too, the last thing I want to mention is we did get a lot of emails regarding removals of other trees in projects. Any information we got on that, we passed down to county as well to follow up. So I have nothing else to report on that yet, but Hopefully I will at some point soon. All right, so moving on, Census Tract Report 4603.01.
Thank you very much. So I think I actually talked about the Loma Alta Park in the Safe Streets meeting, but in the county time, I guess, it's in the cycle for the pop-up sidewalk to address speeds and traffic safety around Loma Alta Park. So that's in some approval phase there. And then speaking of approval phase, Cheney Trail Road stop signs were approved by the Board of Supervisors. I talked to Jonathan today, and they're now going into the implementation. He calls it service ops, but ultimately it'll be going into implementation phase. So I can share the map with anybody in our census tract. Maybe I'll post it so that you can see where the signs are going right now. I did share just some community concerns with him as well, but that should be happening in weeks. Again, primarily it's no parking south of the yellow access gate, and I think I wrote down, yeah. So anyway, we'll look at it, and every 180 feet. So I'll share the information so residents can understand what's happening there. Did I have another thought? Oh, and then as you've heard some comments regarding the Lavinia Connector Trail, just an update. So the trail is being done in phases. And so this is, I guess, the introductory phase of the East Lavinia Trail. So Sarah Kevorkian is the manager with the MRCA for this, and she reported that Outward Bound Adventures started work on the first phase, 25% of the East Lavinia Connector Trail in January. And it is scheduled to be completed in the next 2 months. The very first portion of the trail, which will be the next phase, will be on LA County Flood Control District property, and that's leading into the Outward Bound Adventures section, and is pending the drafting and approval of the use agreement between MRCA and the county. And then the phases after that are yet to be developed. That's phase 1B and phase 2. That's the East Trail. So anyway, that's what I got reported from that project. That's it. Thank you.
A question?
Yes.
What is a pop-up sidewalk?
A pop-up sidewalk is a temporary use of road space to become protected space away from cars that allows people to walk safely, expands the size of the sidewalk. And then it's also kind of creating, some of it will also be painted shoulders, temporary painted shoulders that allow space for people to use Sunset Ridge and Loma Alta separate from cars. So in Altadena, I think East Loma Alta has painted shoulders. You've been on the Rubio Canyon side, but our side of Loma Alta doesn't have any paint whatsoever. So this will be experimental paint around the park between Dabney and Loma Alta. And then also specific delineators will be put in, like the short posts that are being used for the slow street signs. And they'll be kind of put in to kind of separate. And then, you know, they're supposed to have another phase of showing us the final work in progress implementation. It's really up Sunset Ridge and then across Loma Alta with a variety of treatments. So it's really a demonstration project to kind of have a think about how we can make safer streets.
So it makes it safer and it provides more room for walking for people who want to walk along the street.
Yes. So the painted shoulders will kind of narrow the roadway enough so cars aren't S-turning, flying down the hill past the park. And then expanded space will be experimented on the north side of Loma Alta, across from the homes, so that right now there's no three-way stop sign, so cars kind of shoot past Sunset Ridge where there's a crosswalk and there's all the parked cars that you can't see anybody going by. So the perfect solution my humble opinion would to actually make that a stop sign, but the demonstration project is, I guess, the first step.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, Census Tract 4610.
Hi, everybody. It's me. I'm going to be giving our report for today. Well, we have had a pretty busy month. We, as spoken earlier by the Altadena Libraries, we are having the Census Tract 4610 virtual community meeting. We've been working with Chloe Cavalier. She's been extremely helpful and really easy to work with. She's taken quite a good position and helping us with put this all together. She's put together a flyer for us. Veronica Jones and I will be walking the neighborhood and talking with our neighbors and handing out the flyers. I have been doing so these last couple of days as I walk my dog Bosco. So we've also met with the Altadena Arts Council. We're trying to put together a monument, a space for Charles White Park to memorialize Charles White, something that's going to be inviting for everybody to come into, not just they don't want like what seems to be a gravestone. They want to have, we were trying to figure something that can work together where people would come in and learn something a little more interactive. So very, very productive meetings that we're having with them. We're also having the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We'll be restarting the COVID testing in a couple weeks, in 2 weeks. That will be, there will be information put out for that soon. And then Jackson Elementary has unanimously voted to change the name of the school. So more information will be coming out about that as well. So we have the community conversation advertised on the website, the town council website, so that you can speak with us on February 28th between 3 and 4:30 in the afternoon to recap. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, the last item on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Can I vote twice?
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
It was a lot of information tonight.
Yes, there was.
Thank you.
Good meeting, actually.
Yes.
It was good. Thank you.